Hi, my name is Kyler Kersavage, and I'm going to be talking about the Fetch API. So, Fetch is a built-in JavaScript function that can be used to make requests across the internet. This function will work asynchronously, meaning you can use AJAX to manipulate the page in real time without having to reload anything. And this function was meant to replace the XML HTTP request function. XML HTTP was starting to get a little outdated and had a lot of drawbacks, especially with how many callbacks sometimes were required to use it. Here I have just a sample fetch request that I got from the Mozilla website. So the first thing you'll do is make a call to the URL that you want, just with the fetch function here. That's going to send a promise. And then here you will store the JSON data into a variable, and then you can output that data into a string or manipulate that however you would like. Here is a sample of the Fetch API. This is code that I took from my current project that I'm working on here. I have several Fetch functions that I'm using, but this is just one of those. So the first thing I do is a separate function. I create the URL that I want to call, and then I pass that down into this fetch function. And you can add a couple modifiers to the fetch function as well. Here I specified the method that I want to use is get, and I also added a header here. I have the authorization token that I'm using. Only authorized users are allowed to use this API, so I have to pass the token. I just replaced it with token string, but there is a series of numbers and letters that you would normally have to put here to show that you're authorized. And I also specified that the content that I would like to retrieve is JSON. Many APIs will allow you to specify if you'd prefer text or XML or JSON, etc. So then I retrieve the response from their server, and I pass that on here to this function that I've created, setActivityURL, and I pass that JSON data. In this function, I will parse that data down more and manipulate the data so that I can display it in a way that makes sense for the user. And then I end here with a catch, just in case there's any errors. And right now I'm just logging those errors in the console so I can review them, but you can, there's several different ways you can go about error handling with Fetch. So Fetch has a variety of uses. The main one is to retrieve information, a lot of which is publicly available. There are some APIs that may require you to pay, especially if you are using many APIs per hour or many requests per hour. And all this data, such as information about movies, music, books, pretty much anything you can think of, there's data associated with it that you can find an API for. I've seen people do it for weather data, to find books that they'd like to read. There's just a lot of resources you can use. In my project that I'm working on, I make a call to the Xbox API where I retrieve information about certain gamer tags, and I use that data in a way that makes sense. Of course, you can also use Fetch to retrieve your own data from your servers. It does support some security features. You can make authorization tokens to make sure only authorized users are accessing your data. And then down here, I included a link. This is for APIList.fun. It's just a fun website that shows you all the APIs that are available for use. There's practically unlimited APIs out right now, and especially with how easy it is to use Fetch now with JavaScript natively. There's a lot of web developers that are taking advantage of that and making a lot of web applications that are very useful for a lot of users. All the information that I took for this was just from the Mozilla website, where they discuss in detail how to use the Fetch API. So if you're interested in using that, I definitely recommend it over the XML HTTP request, and you can learn more about that in this link. And that's my presentation. Thank you.